ladies and gentlemen, Hugh Curley.
David and Ann were having a very heated discussion right outside of my office. David, who works for me, was asking Ann to do something, and Ann was responding with needing some kind of understanding. Their voices were escalating to the point of yelling, and just as I opened the door to invite them in, they were getting to the point of name-calling. I asked them to sit down, and then I asked Ann what the issues were, and as she told me, I wrote those on the whiteboard. As you know, all engineers are required to have whiteboards. I then asked David the same question, and I wrote his responses. In the middle of my list making, they suddenly smiled at each other, they stood up, they shook hands, they thanked me, and they walked out. I had no idea what happened, but I did realize that I had, at that time, a very powerful and very important learning experience. It would take me 2 years, though, before I found out what that experience was. As an engineer, and then as an engineering manager, I sat in a lot of meetings. We developed product plans. We wrote contingency plans. We wrote status reports. We analyzed problems. We developed critical path analysis. And all of this stuff required logic, using the head. And the more logic we used, the more we were rewarded. And then, one day, I was required to discipline Tony, a defiant but very talented engineer. I used my best logic. I pointed out to him what the rules were. I told him how he should work with his teammates. I told him what the consequences could be. And as a fellow engineer, I was very sure that he understood. 2 days later, as I was reading his resignation letter, I realized that I had missed an opportunity. He knew what the rules were. He knew he should work with his team. He knew what the consequences were. I hadn't given him any new information at all. So for an engineer, this situation poses a very different kind of a problem. I have to determine what is going on with Tony emotionally. And in order to do that, I have to understand his feelings and the needs under those feelings. And with that, I can empathize with him. Perhaps through empathy, I can make the connection. I'm going to call Tony, and then I will share my feelings and a need with him, and then make a present request. So I called Tony and asked if we could meet. He agreed. So after the small talk, I said, I was really disappointed when you left. You're a very talented and a very valuable member of the team. I need to understand what it is of your needs that were not being met. Can you help me? Sure. You were always fair with me. It's a bad work ethic. I've always had it, even in school. Always hated when people told me what to do. Now, bad work ethic is a diagnostic, not an emotion. To empathize, we need to get to the feelings and then the needs under those feelings. So we'll try again. Did you feel angry because people told you what to do? No, if I was angry, you wouldn't be here. No, that wasn't it. So did you feel irritated because they know more about the problem than you do? No, we were all equally competent. It doesn't matter who tells me what to do. It just makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It's like I'm being backed into a corner. Now we're getting someplace. So do you feel pushed or pressured? Like you're losing control of your job? Yeah, that's it. If I do what everybody tells me to do, then I'm not in control anymore. I'll show them. So now we're getting someplace, but let's see if we can narrow it down just a little bit more. So your defiance is to keep control of your job. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. The problem is that I'll do it even if it hurts me in the end. So that's why he quit. Now we can empathize with him. Tony, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being frank. Losing control of your job can be a very threatening thing. But let's see if there's anything else. Are there any other issues or needs that have gotten in the way? No, none of the material. Good. This sharing, getting his feelings and his needs, and then empathizing with him is how we can start this connection. Now I'm going to share my feelings and needs with him and make a request. Tony, I felt really disappointed when you left. I needed to understand why, what your needs were. Thank you for sharing. But my request is, can we be friends? Sure. You've always treated me fair. I can trust you. This feeling, this empathizing with the other person, and then sharing our feelings, our needs, and making this type of a request works with everyone. Frequently, and unfortunately, the people that are best at using logic, engineers, accountants, scientists, are also the ones that are weakest with the emotion, and the ones that have trouble with empathy, and the ones that need the empathy the most. Logic and emotion are like muscles, and the more we exercise them, the more we use them, the stronger they become. But just because we have one strong muscle doesn't mean we should ignore the other. In the book, Switch, How to Make Change When Change is Hard, Chip and Dan Heath liken our internal emotional and logical forces to an elephant with the rider. The elephant represents the emotion, and it is by far the most powerful of the two. But the elephant will wander aimlessly and not accomplish much unless directed by the rider, the logic. Together, they make a powerful team. Tony eventually came back to work for us on the condition that he report directly to me. We never had any more trouble with his aversion to authority. And I learned that to make a connection with a person, using the heart first, before making a request, using the head. When you're working with things, use your head. When you're dealing with people, start with the heart. Thank you. Thank you.